But we have another Elvis lifer, and this is the author of the book, The Elvis Files, which this whole special is based off of. Her name is Gail Brewer Giorgio, who talks about another huge black flag. Regarding his death, and that is the fact that on Elvis's grave, his middle name is misspelled. His middle name, like I said earlier, is Aaron. Aaron, 1A, and not...
Oh.
I did notice that. You didn't do 2 A's, huh?
No, if you want to say Elvis's name correctly, it's Elvis Aaron Presley, not Aaron. And she explains... which is what is on his actual grave, Aaron. And she explains the significance of that here.
Significant to you that the name Aaron was misspelled. Why is that so significant?
Elvis was born an identical twin. His twin brother, Jesse Garon, died at birth. With great thought and deliberation, Elvis's parents named him Elvis, A-R-O-N, so that whenever Elvis saw the name of Jesse Garon, he'd always know that Aaron was a part of Garon. So emphatic were his parents to have A-R-O-N spelled with a single A, that when the doctor mistakenly filled out the first birth certificate with 2 A's, they insisted a new one be written, which was dated January 12, 1935, this new one with the single A spelling. From the time Elvis was able to sign his name, it was Elvis, A-R-O-N.
Huh,
So
that's really interesting.
That's a really big mess up, but does it mean that he's alive?
No. It means that there's some fraudulent shit going on, pretty much.
I think it just means that somebody messed up, and then it probably cost too much to redo. No, but they have a lot of money.
Well, they said there's stuff missing, and to me, it sounds like stuff missing that they know belonged to him. Stuff that's not spelled correctly, that's supposed to be spelled correctly. It sounds like somebody's doing something fraudulent.
He's got a pretty big crew. You could see, like, I don't know, Big T, the bass player's roadie, being like, Elvis promised me those rings one time when he was all hopped up. So
yeah.
I think there might have been a fair share of people helping themselves to their things. But as far as the misspelling on the grave, we know that his father, Vernon, is around, and his father would know that. And I think his father being around, it's not like you can say that no one in Elvis's life really cared about him. We know his father was there. So that does seem like a strange oversight. It seems like it's like some kind of loophole that you can get out of, technically I'm dead, but really not because it's misspelled. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's a good thing to know, that if you ever want to make sure that you can haunt somebody or stick around on this earthly realm, just have somebody misspell your shit.
Yeah. If you're just slightly off, it doesn't count. It's not you.
Yeah.
I feel like
I
at
know
some
when
point...
I die, my name's going to be Judd.
you just got to lose a letter. Lose one letter and you're good.
Yeah, we'll be putting together a fund for a Judd bench.
Judd Presto.
Judd Presto's bench. The next evidence we get, though, is very remarkable and comes from a man named Mike Joseph, who was visiting Elvis's grave in Graceland on New Year's Eve, 1977. It's just the year he passed away. And he took some pictures of the ground. So let's hear about that from Mike Joseph.
Had the pictures developed and looked at them, put them away. One day after reading a book, I decided to look at my pictures again. I pulled them out, and this time I saw something in one of the pictures that I hadn't seen. My God, I had Elvis Presley sitting in the doorway, looking out at the fans walking past his grave. I have had the negatives examined by Kodak. And Kodak basically says that they are original. They have not been tampered with in any way. And they said it's Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he claims, so yeah, like he said, he's reading his book. He's like, let me go crack open those Elvis pictures. The Graceland. I want to look at Elvis's grave pictures again. So he claims that he used a magnifying glass to enhance the pic, and there it was. It was Elvis. If you can see this picture, this is Elvis sitting behind a window. He's just looking out of it, and it looks a lot like Elvis. And that's the great thing about this case. It gets ridiculed so much, but even so far, this evidence is pretty compelling. A lot of this doesn't add up.
That is awesome. I love that. That's the kind of shit that keeps this going. Those kind of stories of people being like, he was at his own memorial just hanging out.
Yeah, he Tom Sawyered it up. Or
Bill Bixby's there? You think Bill Bixby needed money or something to go sell it his friend? I didn't mention, too, I remember I said it was very Vegas-y. When Bill Bixby comes out, the steps are all lit up. It looks like a Vegas show. The band's going nuts. But then it all just calms down immediately, and then you hear what you're hearing so far. But we're going to post that picture up of Elvis in sitting at Graceland looking out at people. And, I understand talking about the pictures, this doesn't make for great podcasting, but this next evidence is perfect. Here again is Maria Columbus, that fan club president, talking about an audio tape of Elvis post-death that she had received.
I received this tape in 1981 from Steve Chances from Florida. He had written a book called Elvis, Where Are You? Now on this tape, you only hear Elvis speaking. The person he was speaking to was edited out.
Yes, I noticed. I noticed that. Well, part of it was edited out. Why would anyone edit out one of the parts of the conversation? That sounds sort of suspicious to me.
Yes, it's suspicious to me, too. The only thing I could think of is that the person did not want to be recognized. But I believe it is Elvis speaking.
Curiouser and curiouser.
All right, before we go on, play soundboard 2, because this is getting...
Curiouser and curiouser.
I think no to say it at the same time. It's pretty wild. Let me hear it again.
That's like super useful for us.
Love it.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Yeah. She joined in too at the end. And curiouser. And yeah, I can't be the only one who thought of Elvis, where are you? That was great.
Well,
I don't know.
I was thinking that sounded like a kid's book. Like, where are you, Elvis?
Where's Elvis?
Curious.
Is Elvis
Curiouser
in
and Curiouser, the Elvis Files for children.
Is Elvis in the basement?
Curiouser and curiouser.
Is Elvis on the roof observing us?
Mm-hmm.
Elvis isn't in the grave.
Okay, all right, let's knock it off. Right.
Anyway.
So they're talking about this tape, and this is perfect for a podcast. You guys want to hear some of this Elvis tape from 1981?
Ooh, can
all
we?
Right, all right, here we go. Let's hear some live Elvis Presley.
People ask me all the time where I'm living, and naturally I can't say, but it's a good place to hide. And there was an island that I had learned about a long time ago. I guess I always knew that someday I'd probably have to use it. Anyway, I must have spent a year on the island. I started traveling all over the world, and it's been enjoyable, but it's been a constant battle of growing beards and this and that to keep from being recognized. And I guess about 2 years ago, I went to Europe, which is something I've always wanted to do, something I've wanted to do for a long time. I realized that sooner or later, it's probably going to end. I'd hate to think that it's going to end, but I know sometime the secret has got to be let out. If it hadn't been for getting involved in what I'm involved in now, things as such, maybe it'd been different.
Yeah, that sounds like Elvis, all right. And I know it's a little hard to hear, but Elvis is talking about having to grow a series of beards to stay out of the public eye. That he saw an island. I guess he bought an island a long time ago, and that's where he was for about a year. Then he got to go to Europe. And this is something I just learned recently. Colonel Tom Parker, he wasn't allowed to leave the country because he was an immigrant. He broke some kind of law that if he would go overseas to Europe that he could have been arrested. I think that's why Elvis never toured overseas. And I'm just putting this together as we're doing this that Elvis said, I've always wanted to go to Europe, or whoever. Allegedly, Elvis said that, and then he did never get to tour in because of Colonel Parker. What do y'all think of the tape?
Well, like you said, it was difficult to hear, but I like hearing his actual just speaking voice as opposed to, the on-stage persona. He sounded just like a regular, down-to-earth, genuine guy.
But I mean, it sounds. What, Jude? You think that it's very convincing Elvis sound?
Highly credible.
Totally.
I need to hear an A and B. I need to hear like Elvis.
I have no idea. Yeah, exactly. I have no idea what Elvis
else.
Just sounds like when
this
he's talking
could just
about growing
sound
beards.
Like
series of beards.
And why is he telling his whole story on the phone? He's giving so much away just in this one conversation.
I don't know. Maybe he's drunk.
He's talking to a friend he misses an old friend. That's why the guy's anonymous. Who knows who that could have been? It could have been anybody.
He's giving a lot of exposition for just like a little phone call.
I see what you're saying.
He's telling them where he's been. He's catching them up on the story so they can make a TV special 10 years after this phone call. But they pile even more evidence on things like Elvis being involved with the FBI and his meetings with presidents, of course, Carter and Nixon. And the show wraps up with host Bill Bixby, a close personal friend of Elvis, giving his final word on the Elvis is Alive conspiracy.
I've been asked many times, Bill, isn't this show exploiting Elvis's death? Yes, was my feeling. In fact, when I was first asked to host this program, I said no for exactly that reason. But then a body of evidence was presented to me that made the circumstances of August 16th, 1977 debatable. The more I considered what was in front of me, the more I felt that this was an opportunity to present to the world information which had never been brought to light. Now, certain evidence seen here even suggests that Elvis himself may be reaching out. If anything can be said of this program, hopefully, is that we have left his life with dignity. And I thank you.
Yeah, he really believes it. And one of the funnier things that they do throughout this is they ask the audience for a show of hands in the beginning of the show, in the middle of the show, the end of the show. They make them, they ask them whether or not they believe Elvis is alive or not. In the beginning, it's almost split 50-50. But at the end, after that little part, he asks the audience what they think now. It seems like the entire audience is in. It's wild, man. So what do you guys think? In the face of all this evidence, he could be alive still. He would be 84 years old. What do you think about Elvis is alive?
Oh, I mean, I think he's totally alive. We haven't gotten into like a little portion of why I think so, but yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Well, here, we're kind of close now at Elvis. What are your thoughts on it?
So, I mean, when he was buried, didn't he have an air-conditioned coffin?
That sounds about right. Yeah. You think he's just, I forgot about that, Esby. So he's just down there kind of just literally chilling, waiting to get out.
Not chilling. It wasn't him. It was a wax figure. And
there you go.
I mean, yeah, he did have these horrible bowel obstructions that were like plaguing him throughout his entire life. So it wouldn't be surprising if that was ultimately what caused his death. But yeah, so like he had the twin brother and
the dead twin who he's named after, who they spell wrong. And yeah, he said he could be 84 years old now. Elvis could be still walking among us. I don't know, maybe he just thought everyone thought it was stupid, like making Bubba Hotep. Bubba Hotep.
No, I mean, like, he's hanging out with my grandpa right now, for all I know.
And your grandpa, if your grandpa didn't tell you, then you should disown your grandpa. Because that's the kind of thing you tell your family, that they're hanging out with Elvis.
Well, what about you, Drea? You sound blown away. Well, what's your opinion of Elvis?
Oh, I'm so blown away. See, here's what I think it's entirely possible that that was not him in the coffin. Do I think he's still alive now? Probably not. I think something else might have taken him in, done him in. He's not alive now, but I think it's very, very possible that he lived past the date that he was claimed to have died.
Yeah. And I just hope, hearing some of this is another thing that's weird to me. This was like an hour of television, like network television was only 3 channels, was just devoted to this and this crazy special about Elvis being alive. And they actually have some good evidence. But we're going to move on now to another famous death conspiracy. And it's another big one. And a rock star, Jim Morrison.
Ooh.
Now, Jim Morrison, this one never really took off in the way that the Elvis conspiracies did, but there are some who believe that the Doors frontman Jim Morrison did not die in Paris on July 3rd, 1971. There is an account from a man who claims that he talked to an anonymous source named Dave. Okay.
Dave's not here, man.
At a Robbie Krieger concert, of course, Robbie Krieger from the Doors, and here is that story. Dave then proceeds to tell me that his girlfriend is Jim Morrison's daughter. Obviously, I'm a little shocked and don't believe him. He swears to me that it's true. Jim's alive, he said. Jim Morrison currently resides on a ranch outside Las Vegas on Lake Isabella. He confidently states that all of the Doors are aware of the fact that he is not really dead. They have all met with him in private and are respecting his wishes to live under a new name, William Lawyer, or Loyer. William Lawyer has been working as a rancher for the past 20 years and lives in a quiet, simple life with his family, and he raises horses. He is extremely close to his childhood friend, Rick Manzarek, brother of Ray Manzarek, the keyboardist of the Doors. All the band's members of the Doors are aware that Jim did not really die, but wanted to desperately get out of the music business. Then Dave pulls out his iPhone and starts showing me pictures he personally took. Some with him in the pictures with this current Jim Morrison, who's a little older and gray, hanging out with his family, and that states that he's actually been to his house and they talk all the time. Now, all this sounds crazy to me, and I'm sure you're thinking the same, but there's more. After the concert, I go home and do a Google search. Jim Morrison has been in a lot of trouble with the FBI and police, which is possibly why he moved to France. He also hated being a rock star. Another fact popped up. The media was not informed of his death for 6 days. No one but his girlfriend Pam saw his body before it was placed into the coffin, which was transported from their apartment to the grave.